guys, so really quick this week recap. So we learned how to do 12 different techniques that we're going to use in the project that we're working on this week. In another video, I have given you a tutorial on how to cut the paper 1/2 inch. So we're going to be working with 1/2 inch strips of colored paper this week. And so make sure you check that out if you're not really sure. Basically what we're doing this week is you should have already transferred your image. We talked about the outside of the image is going to be the contour line or the outline. And then we drew some interior cells or smaller divisions that we're going to then fill with quilling. So something that you're going to need to be aware of, a few things. You want to fill 3/4 or most of the page with quills. Be thoughtful about your color selection, so don't just willy-nilly it. It needs to make sense. I would limit it to probably 3 or 4 colors. Balance the composition on the page. So again, thinking about colors, thinking about how you use those interior shapes, and how you use the space inside and outside of your theme image or outline. So you want to avoid sloppy, loose, or sparse coiling and quilling. I'll show you an example of that. You want to avoid a lot of negative space. So maybe that has to do with quilling. Maybe that has to do with around your image. And I showed you an example of that last week. So if you need to see that again, go back to last week's Monday page and watch the video. Avoid sloppy glue application. So I'll show you an example of that as well, or describe it to you better. You want to use at least 6 or more of the techniques that we learned in class for the most part. Now, if you add on to that and use some other things, that's great. For example, if you are using something that has some really small, intricate details, like maybe you've got some horns on something, or I don't know, some kind of appendages that are really skinny, then you're probably not going to put coils inside something like that, but maybe use some just paper folding techniques to fill that space. Okay, so let's look at some examples here of nice looking walls, straight walls. So how are we going to get these things straight? Well, first of all, I'd like to say that working with notebook paper, which is what we started out with, it's a little bit, I would say, more difficult than working with the colored paper, which is a little more sturdy. But you're going to have to take your time with building these outside walls. One way to get the walls nice and straight is to use your stick that I gave you and use a ruler like I'm doing right here. So you may set the glue in place and then hold the wall still until it's kind of tacky and is able to stand up on its own. Use a ruler like I just showed you. Be careful about not putting too much glue. So just a little bit of glue at a time should be enough, probably about like this. And I said that you could sort of very carefully glide it, or sometimes you might want to kind of twirl the stick a little bit just to get enough glue set in place. So if you are getting, and you can see I just barely have a little bit of glue right here. It's really kind of hard to see, but you can sort of see it. So just a little bit will be enough to make contact with this edge of the paper, and you'll just set it directly in place. Couple of techniques that we learned last week when we were doing this, when we made these shapes and filled them, is we learned to kind of measure how long do you need these strips. Before you actually get the glue on the page, you probably need to use a pencil and sort of measure, well, where does this need to bend? Maybe make a little mark on the page, on the paper, and then fold it. And then that'll give you an idea of where the paper strip needs to bend before you get there. Trying to bend it while you're applying it to the glue would probably result in something more like this, which is a really sloppy wall. This has nice tight corners, crisp, clean corners. This is all wobbly. It's kind of coming in on itself, and it's not very straight at all, as you can see. Make sure that when you are setting up your walls, you're going to kind of overlap the joints. So that means that where it comes together, you're going to overlap it a little bit. When I created this triangle right here, there was a space about like right here where it didn't quite meet. So I had to make a really small piece of paper to fill it in. And I overlapped it right here, and I overlapped it about right here. And the short pieces I put on the inside, the longer strips are on the outside, and that's going to make it a little stronger for you. Something else to think about is how to use this space. If you have a lot of really wide open coils like this, I'm going to tell you that you need to go in and use your space a little better, fill it in more like you see right here. So this is a good use of space over here, and this is an example of a more poor use of space. I have a lot of negative space inside those coils. They're very loose, in other words. Okay, I think that's all you need to know for that. As I said, if you need to see how to use your template again, make sure that you check out my other video where I'm showing you how to cut these paper strips to the right size. They all need to be a 1/2 inch. Good luck with your project. I know they're going to look really good.